Huh? You want us to help you with strength exercises? Shoji asked, perplexed at being approached so sudden by someone he hadn't really spoke to. Izuku nodded, yeah. You two are the strongest in the class by far, and since my quirk also boosts my strength, I figured you guys would have some really good advice for me. Sato rubbed his chin, I mean, I'm naturally muscular, so I'm not entirely sure how someone like you would go about bulking dash. Thanks. But I'd recommend supination bicep curls. Those really help me out. Shoji nodded, also, make sure to really squeeze during your reps. Izuku looked up from his furious scribbling, squeeze. The tentacle teen elaborated, if it helps, flex as hard as you can with the weight, then inhale sharply and try to push further. It's weird to say, but you'll know the feeling the second you feel it for the first time. Got it. Izuku finished those notes. Anything else? Maybe drink a protein shake after your workout. I usually go for the really sweet ones, but normal people probably should stick to low sugar if possible. Sato scratched his head for anything else. Besides that, I guess just sleep as much as you can. Izuku nearly busted a gut laughing. All Might's plan had me get literally the minimum amount of sleep possible. I'd recommend creatine as a supplement. However, it may not do too much good in the time before the festival. Shoji added. The brunette nodded, thanks guys. This is really helpful. I, actually made some notes on your quirks if you want to hear them. I don't know, but maybe it'll help. They both nodded, curious as to the depths of Midoriya's quirk analysis skills. He flipped to the right page in his notebook and explained, so, for Sato, I was thinking about the effects that different types of sweeteners would have. Like brown sugar or honey or even artificial sweeteners. But I know that overusing your quirk impairs your cognition, so maybe you could ingest a more complex sugar, like starch. My prediction is that you'd probably have less strength and it'd take longer to activate, but because it's harder to digest, its effects would last longer and be less severe than if you just chugged sugar. Got it. Sato rubbed his head, feeling his cognition fade after the onslaught of information. As for Shoji, I don't know enough about your quirk to be very useful, but I was wondering if you ever thought about using intimidation as a weapon? The masked teen cocked his head. What do you mean? Well, you have heroes like Gang Orca who look really scary, and because of that, a lot of villains tend to get thrown off their game just because they're unsettled. So if you could use your tentacles in a body horror type of way, you could give yourself a major advantage without much effort. Shoji rubbed his chin with one of his dupli arms. I've always known my appearance was fearsome, but weaponizing could produce interesting results, especially against some more animated villains. Thank you, Midoriya. This is very helpful. Izuku waved his hands in front of him. Oh, it's nothing really. I should be thanking you for all your advice. Really, I just do this for fun. Phew. 2 down, 16 to go. In his life, Izuku had done a lot of difficult things. Going to school back when he thought he was quirkless, for example. Or the American Dream Plan before the entrance exam. Or even facing down the anti-symbol of peace at USJ. However, training with Hagakure was definitely coming close to topping that list. Wrong. Honestly, Midoriya, are you even trying? Izuku groaned, relaxing his position as the invisible girl chastised him for the umpteenth time. In exchange for advice regarding her hero costume, Izuku suggested adding removable mirrors to the glove to increase the intensity of the light she could reflect as well as its range, and the rights to hold Eri. Toru agreed to train Izuku in stealth. He thought that her kind and bouncy personality would make this easy. As it turned out, her insane lack of patience made training even harder. I am trying, really. I just need a bit more practice is all. I'm not even sure if stealth is gonna help in the sports festival. I know the events are randomized each year, but try harder, then. What's not to get? Just move quietly. Like this. Izuku waited for a moment, but nothing seemed to change. Then he heard a whisper in his ear, see? He jumped back in surprise, gah. See? She knows she's not wearing anything, right? That's amazing. How'd you do that? What do you think I've been trying to teach you? She screamed, remember, just use the outside of your foot to walk and shift your body weight with the leading foot. He nodded, got it. Izuku barely took a step when she screeched at him again, wrong. You're shifting your weight against your leading foot. Do it with the lead. It makes it quieter. He sighed, yes, ma'am. He tried again, this time taking care to carefully lean into each step. To his surprise, and his teacher's glee, it actually sounded slightly quieter on the gym's squeaky rubber flooring. Hey! That wasn't terrible. Izuku didn't even need to see her to know that Hagakure was bouncing up and down like an excited schoolgirl, which she technically was. Now do it again, but faster. So the cycle continued. Izuku would get yelled at until he got the maneuver right, at which point Toru would compliment him and subsequently raise the difficulty. Until it came time to figure out hand motions. Come on, just swing your arms like this. But, I can't see what you're doing. You don't need to see what I'm doing. Just stop doing what you're doing. I'm really confused, Hagakure. Ugh, I thought your quirk let you see people or something. How did I not think of that? Izuku activated the Sharingan and grinned, okay. Time to get this stealth thing down. I could even copy Hagakure's moves to speed this up. I seriously can't believe the thought never occurred to me. Unfortunately, the second Izuku actually looked at Toru, he instantly realized why the Sharingan was the absolute worst quirk to use against the invisible and quite immodest girl. Ah, see what I did there? Now you do it, Midoriya. She turned to her student, only to find him lying down, his hands firmly clamped over his nose while he muttered something incomprehensible. Huh, guess he must have overexerted himself. Well, while he's down, Yari. Torune is coming for you. She skipped away to where the child in question was sitting, while Izuku murmured, "Eso, BB bouncy." I don't know too much about this, Kirishima. Izuku nervously said as the redhead stood across from him on a rubber mat. He just waved the comment away, nonsense. You wanna be a man, then you gotta learn to take hits like one. I guess so, but I'm starting to think asking Kirishima was a bad idea. Enough talking. Let's do this. Kirishima brought his arm down in a hammer fist right onto Izuku's head. Ow! Izuku squeaked, but he didn't move, keeping his legs spread shoulder-width apart and his hands tucked firmly at his sides. Kirishima flashed a toothy grin, that's what I like to see. Be a rock. He continued to attack Deku, earning pained grunts and the occasional squeal, only ceasing the onslaught when the latter finally collapsed. Ha ha! That was awesome, Midoriya. Really manly stuff. Everything hurts. Come on. You told me you wanted to make your mark at the festival, right? Think how badass you'll look just tanking everyone's attacks. Why yeah. I can't hear you. Yeah. Izuku shakily stood up and clenched his fists. Kirishima chuckled, that's the spirit. Now, let me hear you roar. He howled in demonstration. Ugh. Midoriya's roar was weak. Bro. That sucked. Come on, roar. Gah. I said, roar. Ah. That's it. Ah. 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 Shut the fuck up. Bakugo screeched from the other end of the UA gym. The redhead and greenette fell deathly silent. Unfortunately for him, Kaminari did not. Dude, you know Aries here, right? He pointed to the floating child, Uraraka's turn to play with her, that was staring at the ash blonde with a curious look. Bakugo went pale. Kirishima laughed. Dude, you broke Bakubro. Eri turned to the brunette keeping her afloat. Miss Uraraka, what does that word mean? Oh, it's a bad word. So you should never say it. Nailed it, Uraraka mentally patted herself on the back. But, what does it mean? Eri, why? Uraraka's face flushed red and started sweating profusely. Deku, wanna take over? I can't. I'm, Kirishima. He looked pleadingly at his training partner. The redhead thought quickly, break's over. So, I need to hit you again. Right. Sorry, Uraraka, but I trust you to do it. Uraraka's eyes narrowed. I think Eri can wait for you to finish, right Eri? The young girl nodded. I don't want to interrupt Deku and I's training. I'll just ask him when he's done. Uraraka smirked victoriously and looked at the now sweating duo. Kirishima's eyes widened. Dude, they're in it for the long haul. Deku paled. I can either explain what that word means, or get beaten into unconsciousness. Kirishima finished the sentence for him. Izuku looked at his friend. A man would face his problems head-on, right? Ojiro nodded. Izuku took a deep breath and steeled his gaze. Then I only have one choice. And that's why Izuku spent the rest of the day in a full-body cast. Uraraka laughed. I still can't believe you let Kirishima wail on you like that. I can't believe Eri asked my mom what it meant at dinner. Izuku nearly facepalmed, remembering the stroke his mom nearly had when the youngest Midoriya popped the question with a mouthful of pie. The two of them were jogging along Dagoba Beach to enjoy the cool sea breeze on the hot Saturday morning. What's that like? Just suddenly having a new family member like that? Uraraka asked after a moment's silence. Oh, Izuku pondered the question. I guess it's nice. Like it's definitely weird since it's just been my mom and I for a long time, but having Eri around makes everything seem, I don't know, brighter. He wasn't so sure as to how to describe the warmth he felt with his newfound sister besides that. Huh, that sounds really nice. Uraraka spoke unusually softly. What was that? Hey, are you okay? Izuku asked concernedly. What? Oh yeah, I'm good. She plastered the biggest smile she could on her face. Unfortunately, it also looked like the fakest. You sure? Did I say something wrong? I'm sorry about that. She suddenly slowed to a stop. Izuku did the same, worry etched onto his face. Damn it. I did say something. Idiot. I think I just. Her voice broke, miss my family is all. Oh, I'm sorry. Izuku scratched the back of his head, scouring his mind for anything to say of comfort. You don't need to apologize. She chuckled, sorry to put this on ya. Guess I was just feelin' lonely or something. She rubbed her eyes while keeping her focus on the ground. You know, it's weird to live by yourself. I know I can't really relate to your situation, and I get that it's probably tough to move here by yourself, but it's not like you're alone. Huh? She looked at him, eyes tinged red. He stammered and looked away. Well, I mean, you have me. His voice decided to crack on that last word. For a moment, neither of them said anything. Then they were laughing like there was no tomorrow. Ha! Deku, you're really dorky, you know. Uraraka clutched her stomach, the laughter so intense it hurt. Izuku tried, and failed, to contain his snickering, sorry. He finally got in under control and finished his thought from earlier. I mean, you have your friends here. So like Iida and Ishido and Asu, Tsuyu and Yaoyorozu and Kirishima and Dash. Ha, I got it. I got it. Izuku added, and if you're ever feeling lonely at your place, just come visit me. Eri would love it and my mom would probably fawn over you like crazy. She might cry too. Thanks, you know. You're a really good friend. She smiled brightly at the boy. Oh, it's nothing really. I just like it when you smile. His face flushed after pondering his words. Wait, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, I did, but, not like that, you know. Uraraka wasn't doing much better, blushing and stammering furiously. She even clamped her hands over her cheeks, causing her to start floating away and prompting a quick break to the flusterfest. Let's keep running. Yeah, that sounds good. I didn't know ya had an accent. Shut up. Izuku walked up to Bakugo as the lunch bell rang, Eri leaving hand in hand with Koda, lover all of things cute. Hey, Kaken. Wanna do some training later? Fuck off. Got it. Good talk. Hey, Tokoyami. Do you wanna train with me later? Izuku asked the next day at lunch. The Birdman rubbed his jaw, beak. The proposition is interesting, but I'm not sure if your sister would take kindly. He gestured to the girl currently hiding behind Izuku's leg, staring wide-eyed at the feathered student in a profound mixture of curiosity and fear. Huh? Eri, what's wrong? I know she was sheltered, but I still thought she'd know about quirk-based mutations. She gasped and looked away, an embarrassed look on her face, sorry. Fumikich's normally stern expression relaxed. It's fine. It happens more than you'd think. Still, she doesn't act like this around Shoji and he's way more intimidating. I'll try to take that as a compliment. Oh, sorry. Looking back at Eri, Izuku placed a reassuring hand over her horn, which seemed to have shrunken slightly in the last few weeks, and softly asked, you sure you're okay? You can tell me. She whispered, they had masks. They? Izuku paled. She means her kidnappers. They had bird masks. Tokoyami cocked his head, I take it to mean she means a mask that resembles my face. Perhaps a plague mask from the olden days in Europe. Olden days? But hey, I remember those masks with the beaks. Wow, Tokoyami. How'd you think about that? I often find myself drawn to imagery from that time. So, macabre. Izuku laughed nervously. You really like that dark stuff, huh? You should see him when he reads Edgar Allan Poe. He smiles like it's the Black Friggin' Plague. Dark Shadow popped out energetically, much to his host's chagrin. Get inside. Fumikage growled as he forced his sentient quirk to reseed into his body. Unfortunately, the already on-edge Eri wasn't prepared for a jump scare and promptly ran out the classroom shrieking. Ah, Eri. I'll have to get her. Sorry, Tokoyami. Izuku ran out the class, but not without one last thought. Wait, he smiles at the Black Plague? Iida breathed deeply. Ah. I'm ever so glad you asked me to run with you, Midoriya. It truly makes me feel as if the bond between us is growing stronger and more robust. Izuku wheezed in response, his stamina spent in the mad sprint that had to perform just to keep Iida from fading into the distance. He didn't even know how that was possible given they were at the UA jogging track, but apparently anything was possible when it came to the overly sincere, overly quick, class representative. Haha. I see you've already started to push yourself. I'd expect nothing less from someone of your caliber. You continue to inspire me. Izuku wheezed again, managing to wave a hand, either in modesty at the compliment or in agony at the searing pain in his lungs and legs and entire body. I see. This must be some new form of breathing to increase lung capacity. Iida's glasses reflected light as he stood tall. I knew you were seeking advice from our classmates, but to think you're already bettering yourself by implementing them into your everyday workout. Izuku wheezed. Every day, doing this? I'd rather give him one for all. Hell, if he does this every day, he probably deserves it. Such devotion to your respiratory training. You are clearly superior to me, but I will not give in so easily. Why you, really, have the wrong opinion of me. I'm just tired. Iida laughed merrily, such modesty. One day soon, I'll show the world that I can stand amongst you and Bakugo and Todoroki. Todoroki? I haven't really spoken to him, but he got in through recommendations and got second in the fitness test. His hero costume is kinda strange though. He nodded, of course. The three of you are probably the most powerful in the class at the moment. Although, you're admittedly more of a glass cannon, but you compensate for that with your intelligence. But, why Todoroki? I haven't really seen much of him. How strong is he? Izuku finally managed to stand up straight, the fire in his lungs shrinking. Oh, I forgot that you were being healed during his match. During the battle trial, Todoroki instantly froze the entire building and defeated Ojiro and Hagakure. It was quite the spectacle. Izuku's face blanched, instantly. Like, he did that in one move. Iida nodded, it was truly inspiring, but also intimidating. But such feelings can only push me further. Come, Midoriya, the warm-up is over. Warm up. Izuku squeaked. Ojiro brought his tail down hard across Midoriya's face, knocking the greenette down. Oh, was that too fast for you? Sorry. Izuku spit whatever saliva/blood was knocked around from the attack and shook his head with a smile. Nah, that was awesome. And I'm learning a lot from just watching you. Even I can keep up with his movements, he's too fast for me to react. You said your quirk lets you mimic movements, right? How does that work? Ojiro took a drink of water to give Izuku some time to recover. He rubbed his head. It's kinda weird to explain. It's sorta like I just remember some moves really clearly and then when I try to replicate the move, my body sorta clicks into place. Ojiro just shrugged. I don't really get it, but I guess it'd be like if I tried to tell you what having a tail felt like. Still, I could teach you some basic blocks and grabs if you want something to actually copy. Izuku perked up. Oh really? That'd be awesome. But I guess you'd have to watch, so I need someone to perform the moves on. Midoriya, I need your magic eyes. I found a peephole to the girls' locker room and you might be able to see through it. Ojiro looked at Mineta then at Izuku, raising his eyebrow with a slight smile. Izuku's eyes widened. I don't know. Remember what he said to Eri the other day? Hey, Mineta. Can you help us with something? Mina clapped her hands together in rhythm, and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 stop. Midoriya. She sighed exasperatedly. Izuku ceased the two-step and sighed, an apologetic smile on his face. Sorry, Ashido. It's embarrassing. What's embarrassing about dancing? Besides, you said you wanted to learn some flips and stuff. So you gotta learn the basics first. But, I can just watch you do it once and then it's done. You really don't need to waste your time on me. Mina's eyes twinkled mischievously. Oh, so you're going to watch me closely, huh? Gonna pay real close attention to how my body moves. Her voice alternated between sly and sultry with alarming ease. Izuku's face went bright red and he turned away from his temporary teacher. That's not how I would put it, but. And after you already paid such close attention to me during Aizawa-sensei's exam. Mina slowly walked towards Izuku, each step accompanied by a slight swing. The shade of red on Izuku's cheeks deepened to a level long thought impossible. Oh, that's right, I noticed. And it made me very interested. She dragged a finger down Izuku's cheek. What? The greenette jumped back and completely seized up, his entire body screeching in a profound mixture of epinephrine, cortisol, and a variety of other hormones and neurotransmitters telling him to either run or run while screaming. Her raucous laughs luckily stopped his mental breakdown. Man, Midori, you're too much fun. Wah, ha. She knows there's an extra syllable, I've told her like 50 times. But where's the fun in just copying my moves? Nah, I want you to work for them. Besides, it's kinda fun. Izuku looked down. You're right. Ashido giggled, of course I am. Now come on and get this two-step. Yes, ma'am. Out of all the students in class 1A, the one Izuku most wanted help from was Ojiro. Then Sato. Then Ashido. And so on and so forth. Aoyama was at the bottom of that list. Only because Mineta was intentionally excluded. So it came as a surprise when he and Kaminari were suddenly dragged away during free training by the titular pseudo-Frenchman. What's going on? Izuku asked, nervously scratching his head. Not to be rude, but, are you gonna kill us? Kaminari eyed the secluded corner the trio was standing in, curiously out of sight from the rest of the class. Aoyama laughed haughtily, Je suis désolé, but I wanted to bring us three together for a surprise. But why? Kaminari readied his quirk just in case he was right about Aoyama's intentions. Because we are all the same. We're like Les Trois Mousquetaires. Aoyama, I think that Kaminari and I are still a little lost. Aoyama just chuckled, without my dazzling support belt, naval laser would constantly leak out and hurt my stomach. My doctors tell me that my body just isn't suited for my quirk. He looked at the other two with a knowing glint. You two hurt yourselves with your own quirks, too, right? Izuku and Kaminari were dumbfounded. This is the same Aoyama who spent half of the class costume budget on a cape infused with diamond? Do you not like the surprise? And no, it's great. Just surprising, is all. Kaminari rubbed his hair, embarrassed at his earlier accusations. It's because I saw you training so much and becoming impatient. Aoyama turned to Izuku, his face uncharacteristically serious. For us three, there's no reason to struggle alone. Otherwise, how could we ever shine? I thought he was scary, but he's actually trying to help. Thank you, Aoyama. This is an awesome surprise. Izuku grinned at the sparkly blonde appreciatively. Bien entendu, but the surprise isn't over. We're gonna commemorate the first meeting of Les Trois Mousquetaires by sharing our feelings. Kaminari, what are you doing to help you sparkle? Well first, I know my French is bad, but I'm pretty sure you made that word up. Debatable, but continue. Well, I guess I'm just trying to work on cycling a small amount of electricity through my body so I don't fry my brain or my nerves. Izuku suddenly lit up. Wait a minute, you're spreading your power out? Taken aback, Kaminari elaborated, well, yeah. If I try to focus my electricity in just one body part, I could damage my nerve endings, and you saw what happens if I just let loose at full power. I see. Izuku's brain was in full-on ramble mode, but that didn't deter Aoyama. Merci, Kaminari. I find it difficult to control naval laser's intensity, so instead, I prefer to control the duration it's active. Huh? Does that work? Izuku snapped out of his rambling. He nodded, evidement. If I only use it for a brief moment, it only hurts the slightest bit. Whoa. Izuku shot up and flashed a manic grin. Thanks, you guys. I know what I need to do. Kaminari protested, huh? But we all shared. What Abu dash? Let him go. Aoyama stated, brilliant tears falling from his shimmering eyes. He's going to sparkle. Izuku nodded with a grin. Seriously, you guys. Thanks. He ran off, leaving the others behind. In that case, let's make friendship bracelets. Why not? Hey, Yaoyorozu. Izuku called to his fellow deputy rep while she twirled her bow. What is it, Midoriya? Izuku stared right at her with uncharacteristically excited eyes. I have a really good idea for my quirk, but I need some help with the logistics of it. Can you help me? She cocked her head, Maybe you should ask Cementos or Ectoplasm. I'm sure they'd be able to help you much better than I could. Izuku shook his head. Trust me, you're probably the only person who can help me. Momo's face lit up appreciatively, but she managed to rein it in before she went full bounce. Okay, how about you spar with me and we'll talk it about in the meantime. Izuku nodded with a confident smile. Deal. 2 days before the festival. Uraraka, Izuku, and Iida got into position and called up, we're ready. From above the cliff at the USJ landslide zone, 13 nodded, got it. We'll start now. He turned to the rescuers and instructed, Bakugo, Yaoyorozu, Tokoyami, and Todoroki, you 4 need to save those 3 with the provided materials in a timely manner. Your time starts now. 13 joined the rest of the students and a heavily bandaged Aizawa in observing the mock rescue. Bakugo growled, let's just blow up the cliff. Wadash. Are you crazy? Yaoyorozu chastised. Tokoyami sighed, this is about what I expected from you. Fuck off, bird brain. Todoroki knelt by the stretcher and rope. Yaoyorozu, make a series of pulleys to pull them up. Tokoyami, you go down and use dark shadow to push them up as far as you can. Bakugo, Yaoyorozu, and I will pull them up the rest of the way. Got it. Tokoyami nodded, appreciative to the hybrid quirk user's decisiveness. Bakugo instantly protested, wait, why am I stuck doing this boring shit? And why the fuck should I listen to you? Todoroki glared, I don't want to waste any more time than I have to on this exercise. Either help out or get out of the way. Before the argument could continue, Yaoyorozu intervened, both of you, be quiet. If you can't take this seriously and work together, then why are you even here? We need to cooperate to succeed, in school and in the real world. And besides, first, we need to reassure the victims. The explosive teen growled but didn't put up any more resistance while Todoroki just stayed silent as Yaoyorozu called down to the injured students. From below, Izuku and Uraraka were doing their best not to snicker at Iida's overwhelming seriousness. Please save us. Uraraka is dying. Help. Yes. We hear you, Iida. Tokoyami deadpanned, slightly put off by the class republic. Uraraka's unconscious, yes? Izuku nodded, but Iida and I are injured so we can't really help you put her on the stretcher. Tokoyami shrugged, doesn't matter. I always have help. Dark Shadow popped out at that moment and growled, posing intimidatingly over the 4 students. Does he look bigger? I could have sworn he was Tokoyami's size. Izuku gazed in awe as the sentient quirk, with great resistance, carried the Uraraka-laden stretcher up the cliffside, stopping about 2/3 the way up, coincidentally by the edge of the shadow that blanketed the rocky bottom in darkness. From there, it wasn't long until the other 2 were back up the cliff, much to Iida's great relief. Thank you, heroes. That made Uraraka and Izuku burst out laughing, unable to contain their amusement any further. Even the stoic Tokoyami and serious Yaoyorozu smiled at the scene. 13 stood in front of the class again. Now, can someone tell me who the MVP was for this round? Given that Yaoyorozu was one of the participants, nobody raised their hand to answer, much to the space hero's annoyance. It was Bakugo. That came as a surprise, at least based on everyone's reactions. Bakugo's quirk is ill-suited to an operation like this. The fact that he stayed back and kept out the way by not using his quirk to pull everyone up is proof that he thought about the best way he could help and executed it well. Izuku smiled at that. Even if he's kind of an ass, he's definitely one of the smartest people in the class. And to think he'd put his ego aside, maybe Kaken's really changing. 1 hour later, or maybe not. Izuku's sweat dropped while Bakugo ranted at being forced to work with others for the citywide rescue operation at the ruins zone. 13 had just assigned the former 2, Uraraka, and Mineta the job of heroes while the other 16 students were to hide in the cityscape and pretend to be injured. Essentially, it was hide and seek, but for a grade. And awesome. Bakugo, let's just try to get along and do our best, Uraraka placated, nervously laughing while moving in front of Izuku, just in case. Who are you? Her composure broke with her pride. What? We literally fought each other in the battle trial. We've talked before. I don't think so. While they argued, Mineta looked around excitedly. Hey, if we have to rescue all the other girls, then we can touch their butts and chests, right? When we carry them. Izuku's sweat dropped. You're not allowed to carry anyone, Mineta. Could you even physically manage carrying someone? 13 announced 5 minutes for everyone to hide and then ordered the hero team to start the rescue operation. Okay, I can look for everyone with my Sharingan. Once I find someone, we can dash. Fuck off, I'll do it myself. Bakugo blasted off to God knows where, leaving his 3 partners behind. To be fair, he stuck around a lot longer than I thought he would. Izuku deadpanned. Anyways, I was actually gonna suggest we split up once I locate the others. Uraraka and Mineta nodded in agreement, so Izuku went ahead with his search. Sharingan. Okay, I can see Ojiro in the building right there, Kyoka hiding under that red car. Oh, Todoroki's in the building next door. That's everyone I can see from here, so I guess we just go from there. They agreed and split off, with Midoriya rescuing Ojiro, Mineta rescuing Todoroki, oh the irony, and Uraraka saving Jiro. Man, I don't know how you found me. Jiro chuckled as Uraraka released her quirk on the car she lifted off the former. Well, Deku found you with his quirk. I'm actually supposed to look for the others now. Run! Iida cried as he sped towards the 2 girls. Uraraka smiled. Iida, I found you. Why is he running like that? Run! There's a villain. Iida tackled Kyoka and Uraraka, narrowly avoiding the rock that sailed through the air. Looking up, the 2 girls paled. And no freaking way. Jiro felt her blood run cold at the sight of a massive, muscular man with a black shirt, camo combat pants, and a full-face mask slowly stalking towards them, casually carrying someone's limp form with one hand. Uraraka narrowed her eyes on the unconscious body in the man's grasp and felt her heart drop. Todoroki? The strongest in our class. Hello children. His voice was muffled by the mask, yet its menace was clear. Let's make this as painless as possible. He raised his free hand and waved it, creating a shockwave that blew the 3 students back. Guys? What's going on? Izuku called, running towards the source of the disturbance and nearly fainted at the sight of 3 of his classmates facing off against an intimidatingly large villain. Mineta cried, a villain. Again? Ojiro ran to Aizawa and 13, Sensei, we're under attack, again. Sure. Aizawa dully remarked. 13 hissed, Senpai. This is serious. Sighing, Aizawa spoke again, somehow even duller than before. Oh no. What a mystery this is. And we're completely incapacitated. 13 pointed to the exit enthusiastically. Get everyone to escape. You're on your own, unfortunately. I feel like I'm missing something. Ojiro remarked as he ran away from the teachers. Everyone, head for the exit. The villain just laughed, as if I'd let you. He stomped once and made the earth shake. When the dust cleared, a massive chunk of the ruins zone had been leveled. Ha! Now there's nowhere to hide. Who's hiding, dipshit? Bakugo roared as he fired an explosion right into the villain's face. However, it didn't even make him flinch. Ha! You'll have to do better than that. The villain tried to grab Bakugo, only for the explosive team to blast out of the way and counterattack. Bakugo growled at the lack of visible damage. I'll kill this asshole, you hear me? So you extras just get out of my way. Realization dawned on Izuku's face. He's trying to buy us time to escape. He really has changed. Everyone, we can't let Bakugo do this himself while we run. Iida called to the assembled students. Yaoyorozu nodded. We're all class 1A, right? If we cooperate, we can definitely win. Everyone smiled at the encouragement and readied themselves for battle. Izuku rolled his shoulders and readied his quirks. Sharingan. That villain's fast, faster than I can keep up with, but he looks familiar. In fact, I've definitely seen this energy signature before. Let's go. Iida cried like a general as he led 17 students to battle. The villain turned away from Bakugo and smirked at the united front displayed. He readied himself for another mighty stomp. Unfortunately for him, Izuku said the last thing he wanted to hear at the moment. All might? The students all stopped and stared at the greenette like he was crazy, oblivious to the nervously sweating mess before them. Midoriya, what are you talking about? Ribbit. Azui remarked. Izuku pointed to the villain. With my quirk, he looks the same as All Might. Class 1A stared accusingly at the villain and took a few menacing steps towards him, which he responded with by stepping back. At that moment, Bakugo blasted up and ripped the mask off, revealing a chiseled, and familiar, blonde visage. I am here. All Might said rather meekly, slightly embarrassed to have been caught prematurely. Todoroki suddenly moved and sighed, looks like the plan didn't work. He freed himself from All Might's grasp and dusted himself off. All Might cleared his throat, sorry for the deception, but I thought it important that you all have some more experience dealing with villains. Too many of you felt that what happened a few weeks ago was just a freak accident. But spontaneous and unexpected villain attacks are all too standard for a hero. My only hope is that you all learned that. The hero stopped talking once he realized that nearly every student was glaring at him with hate. I'm sorry. For the next 5 minutes, All Might was treated like everyone's verbal punching bag until he was reduced to a blithering, broken mess. Aizawa just sighed, I knew it. Izuku sighed, but with relief, I'm just glad it was a drill and not a real attack. This made the other students stop and smile slightly. Midoriya's right. That's something to be happy about. Yaoyorozu commented. Iida nodded, and at least this kept us on our toes before the festival. All Might smiled joyously, Midoriya, my boy. And just like that, all previously built goodwill was gone. Don't, Midoriya, my boy, US. That afternoon, Izuku went to Recovery Girls' Clinic to pick up Eri, and check in on the still sobbing form of his mentor, then went to one of the study rooms for a student council meeting. Mr. All Might looked really sad. Eri commented dejectedly as she sat in her brother's lap by the Class 1A table. Izuku nervously laughed, WL, he gave us a, interesting surprise. Iida and Yaoyorozu were still fuming, but at least stopped their profanities for the sake of present company. So did the other 3 student council members. Once the tables were all filled, an orange-haired girl from Class 1B stood up, okay, I think we're all here, so why don't we begin? Typical hero course. Who made you leader? A guy with purple hair and rather dark eyes commented from the Class 1C table. A guy from Class 1B with silver hair, incredibly thick and prominent lashes, and familiarly sharp teeth jumped up, hey, what's your damage? You wanna take this outside, Einstein? Tetsu, please. The orange girl waved him down, sorry about that. To answer your question, well, nobody. But if you're volunteering, then by all means. The girl responded as she sat down, her irritation gracefully subdued. The purple man shrugged and stood up, I'm Hitoshi Shinso. We're from Gen Ed, so we're really only here to see what the fuss is about. And now that I see you, I'm not impressed. Shinso was looking directly at Class 1A as he spoke, depending on how we do on Friday, the hero department will consider our transfer applications. So none of us are here to make friends or whatever. We're just here to see who we need to beat. He sat down, leaving a palpably awkward silence in the air, only broken by, you're gonna lose. Round 1. Calling it right now. Guess you Class A kids really are as pretentious as you seem. Whatever. That'll just make dealing with you all the sweeter. A blonde kid with pale blue eyes joked from the 1B table. Huh? Who's this punk? Bakugo turned to Izuku, cover her ears tightly. Once Izuku complied, much to Eri's confusion, Bakugo unleashed the storm, bitch. I'll fucking kill you, you Aryan fuck. You seriously wanna talk all this shit with your smug, sunburns easily looking ass? Come at me, motherfucker. I'll fucking vaporize you. After a moment of pause for the echo to fade out, Iida went into full Iida mode, Bakugo, stop this at once. This is no way for our treasurer to act. He bowed to the other tables, apologies. Please continue. The rest of the council was stunned silent, but the orange girl from before managed to close her jaw enough to speak, WL, I'm, Itsuka Kendo, the class representative. This is Tetsu, our deputy representative. The lovely person to my left is Nito Minoma, our secretary, and dash. She was cut off by Bakugo's raucous laughter. What was his name? Sage. Yaoyorozu hissed, apologies for our treasurer. His name's Katsuki Bakugo. Whispers filled the air as people recognized the name of the top-scoring participant in the entrance exam by a long shot, at least in terms of villain points. And this is Tenya Iida, our class representative. Our secretary is Ojiro Kirishima and our historian is Mina Ashido. My name's Momo Yaoyorozu and I'm co-deputy representatives with Izuku Midoriya. She gestured to the greenette with the child, oh, and this is Eri. Shinso's eyes immediately narrowed, Yuri Izuku Midoriya. Top score on the entrance exam. Izuku shifted back in his seat from the sudden attention but nodded. The blonde boy from 1B, Monoma, smirked, "Oh, so you're the one who got injured at USJ. You don't look all that tough. You sure you belong here?" Before anyone else could retort, a soft and shy voice spoke, "Deku and I's the strongest." Eri wouldn't look at Monoma, opting instead to twiddle her thumbs shyly, but the recipient was clear off of context. Monoma smirked at Eri, "You babysitting or something? Who let the annoying brat in?" "Oi, only I can call her a brat." Bakugo growled. Kirishima stood up defensively, "Insult our Midoriya all you want, but nobody messes with Eri." Mina cracked her knuckles, "I'm gonna enjoy this more than I should." Iida fixed his glasses, "I normally wouldn't condone this, but you are out of line, good sir." He rolled up his pants, revealing his exhaust ports. Kendo raised her hands placatingly, "Wait, let's keep calm." Yaoyorozu nodded, "Seriously, we shouldn't resort to violence, even if he is a punk, something." She blushed at her inability to say the profanity. Luckily, Izuku was ready to quell the storm for the second time that day. "Guys, it's fine." "Eri, are you okay?" She nodded with a blank expression, I couldn't really hear him. His voice got all nasally. Oh, the Class 1A student sat back down, rather embarrassed at their display, while Monoma seethed, the only thing stopping him from a full-scale eruption being Kendo's hand over his mouth. She chuckled nervously, "I'm really sorry about that. Why don't we continue? This was supposed to be about class intros for the sports festival, right?" Izuku couldn't pay attention to the rest of the intros. Instead, he was too caught up thinking about Monoma and Shinso. "I don't know why they're like this, but I definitely don't want to lose to them, of all people. For that matter, I want to win. Besides..." He looked at the child in his lap and reflected on the two other important people in his life. "I've got people counting on me too." If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.